Hey guys, Drew here, back with another video, and welcome to the finale of GFR. This is it. This is the last Growlers video that I will be talking about, unless I get another idea sometime this summer, something to think about. But this is it. All of this here. I don't know what I'm gonna do because last time I put on the hat and the jersey right before this video started, and I was like, it's probably the last time I'm doing this, man. Before I just get on to the season video, just want to say thanks to everybody who watched the show, basically. On me just doing recaps on basically all the Growlers games from this season and the last season, a little bit the year before. But that was the last season, the third season. Any ideas for next season? I'm all open ears. I don't really know what to think about yet. I was thinking of maybe doing like just talking about NHL, and then when the World Juniors comes around, I could do recaps of those. There's some other talks, like some free agency stuff this summer, so maybe I could get into that. But yeah, this is it for GFR, the Newfoundland Growlers. This is it. Got my Growlers jersey on for this. You probably can't see because the camera is down here, so I decided to raise it up. But the last season we will be talking about is the 2023-24 season. And this would be known as the Growlers' final season in the CHL. I'm sure all you guys know that pretty much. But the Growlers actually finished the season with just a 500 record. They had a 28-28-10 record. At the point they were still around, they were like barely in a playoff spot. Like they were just sneaking by. And who knows if they would have made it or not. I mean, like it was a tight race. Game after game was just you just had to hold your breath to see if the Growlers were able to get the W. And they were a really win-lose team. I noticed the past year. I tried to keep it as positive as possible, but at some point this year it just came to a point where I got so mad at this team, and then there was other times where I was like thrilled. But the leading point scorer at the end of the season actually joined the Growlers later on in the season, probably around November, December time. He joined the squad, and that was Isaac Johnson. He finished the season with 68 points. He had a monster season for the Growlers, and he's actually going overseas to Europe next season. So I wish Johnny the best in that. But he was actually also the leading goal scorer with 31. If the season was able to finish out, could he have got the all-time goal scoring record in a regular season for a Growlers player? Pavel Gogolev finished that record, and he had 33 in the 2022-23 season. In last episode, I talked a lot about him. But in this episode, there's a lot of Isaac Johnson to talk about. I mean, he was one of the Growlers' better players in this season. The leading defenseman in points, and honestly, this may be like one of the Growlers' best defensemen in their history, and that's Johnny Tyconic. He had 43 points in the season with an awesome power play quarterback. I mean, Ben Finkelstein may be the best, but Johnny Tyconic gotta be there for a quick runner-up. Like, he was unbelievable. The way he was able to keep the pucks in the zone at those points, like, that was unbelievable. And I mean, Johnny T is going over to Europe as well next year, so I wish him good luck as well. So we'll see how he can do over in Europe. I definitely thought that he could get an NHL spot sometime soon, but it looks like he's going to take his talents over to Europe. So we'll see how he plays over there. But hats off to JT with a great career with the Growlers. The most underrated player I have for the Growlers is actually Neil Shea. I want to give a quick honorable mention though. I mean, I haven't really done honorable mentions in most of my videos, but I just have to. The points didn't go, but the way he played, it was so good. I want to give a huge honorable mention to Adam Daw. I mean, he was out there and it seemed like he was like, I call him Mr. Penalty Killer, and Mr. Penalty Drawer as well. Like, he was so good at just his defensive play. He only scored 1 goal and I believe 8 assists for the Growlers this year. And I mean, he was like so good in the areas of the game. He's only 5'8", but he can use it well. I don't think a Brendan Gallagher type with the Montreal Canadiens. Adam Daw, hats off to him. I really hope him for the best. I mean, he played the year prior to the Growlers, and he played good. He was a pretty good goal scorer. But he had an interview one time on the Growlers EMAG, and he said he wasn't done with Newfoundland just yet. So he decided to sign at the beginning of this year on an ECHL deal. So we'll see what he does next season. I'm pretty interested to see if he heads to Europe or he stays in America, North America, and see if he could sign somewhere else in the ECHL or possibly the AHL. I mean, he has the talent too. But he was so good at just keeping the puck. He was a bit of a puck hogger, but I mean, honestly, I respect it because he was so good at doing it. Just getting by the players and it was easy too. For him, it looked easy. He made it look easy for him to do something like that. But my underrated player, I went with Neil Shea, and Neil, I mean, he was an awesome player for the Growlers. I remember he had a really good opening weekend. He actually finished the season capping off 18 goals, 19 assists for 37 points. I was curious if he could have scored 20 goals in his Growlers rookie season, but he actually, due to the Growlers folding, obviously, weren't able to finish like 3 games or 6. He wasn't able to capitalize and get those 20 goals. But Neil Shea was just really good as well. I mean, whenever he was on the ice, he was always trying to do something fancy or get something in the back of the net. Was a really solid player for the Growlers. And he had an awesome shot as well. So Neil Shea, hats off to him. And yeah, so those were my underrated players. I feel like I talked more about Adam Daw and that. But I just had to give it to Neil because he was really good. And the NHLers on this team, there was actually 2, and one was a little more special. But I'm actually not going to list the second one just yet. I'll list him after I talk about his game. But the one defenseman is David Ference. We were all excited to see David Ference come down to the Growlers, and he played good, but he was okay. I mean, he came down and we were all like, oh my gosh, this guy's gonna be generational talent with the Growlers. But he kind of reminded me of like a Mikko Kokkonen type of guy. He came down here and he just looked like he didn't want to be playing ECHL hockey. And clearly that was the case as he would sign like a week after he joined the Growlers. He'd sign over in the DEL. If you don't know what the DEL is, it's the top German league. He finished the season over there, and we'll see. I think he maybe re-signed over there. So we'll see if he can get another good season in DEL. But David Ference actually played 2 games for the Nashville Predators in the 2020-21 season. He was just coming out of college, so he wanted to get some fresh blood with NHL experience, and then he took his talents to the ECHL later on. I'm sure he wasn't too happy with that, but I mean, David, he was a solid player, but just not what I expected, at least. I expected him to be like a really talented guy, like unbelievable, like Hell McCarr, a defenseman in the ECHL, but he was solid. He was a solid defenseman. I'll say that for much. But the leading penalty minutes actually did not go to James Belindy. James Belindy announced his retirement at the end of the 2022-23 season, but he joined the team later on after opening weekend, and but he did not lead the team in penalty minutes. It actually went to Tate Singleton, who's one of the better Growlers. I think he's the next Growlers player on this team to make the NHL. Like, he was so skilled and so talented, and kind of reminded me of like a Brad Marchand type, just getting in your face, dropping the gloves if needed. I remember that fight opening night of this year, and he was just in it. Like, he was in the zone, and he dropped down Devin Poliani and took him to the ice. Pumped up the crowd after that. But Tate Singleton, what a Growlers tenure. Such a nice guy as well. Got to meet him in person a couple times. Such a nice guy as well, and I'm sure he'll take his talents maybe to the AHL, maybe with the Toronto Marlies. We'll see what happens though, where Tater ends up. But yeah, he was a great player for the Growlers. And the highest and lowest plus minus. Now, honestly, I don't know. The Growlers' highest plus minus actually went to Grant Cruikshank, and I mean, it was only a +6, +5, but Grant Cruikshank, definitely like he was good. He was good, but I mean, just like a +5, +6, +4 for the Growlers just tells you that there was not much goal scoring. And while they were getting more goal against than goals for, and then the lowest plus minus. I mean, this is just a pain to say because I know this guy doesn't want to be in any of the bad stats. But Todd Skirring got a -22, which is actually the worst plus minus in a season from a Growlers player. In case you don't know what plus minus is, it's basically when a forward or a defenseman is on the ice, and for example, they have a 0 as their plus minus, and they score a goal, or a player on the ice scores with them on the ice, they get a +1. But if they get a goal against on the ice while they're on the ice, they get a -1 if they had a 0. So Todd Skirving, I mean, it was a down year for him, honestly. He joined the Florida Everblades and actually played really well for them. But I just tell when he got named captain for the Growlers, it was just nerve wracking. I mean, for him, I mean, he had a rough year. But honestly, wherever he takes his talent next year, I have a feeling he could do a pretty solid job wherever he goes. Even if he returns to Florida or heads to Europe or even coaches somewhere. I mean, he has coaching experience in the BCHL, I believe. So hats off to Scurry. It's a great Growlers career, and finish off the Growlers history with a C on his chest. Um, the goal song for the Growlers was actually 1, 2, 3, 4 by Alan Doyle. We talked about this in the last episode. He was actually the fourth goal on the song because the song was called 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is definitely the best Growlers goal song in the history of the franchise. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. The only Newfoundland song that could possibly go higher than that for a goal song is Heave Away. But I mean, that was the win song, so you didn't really want to change that up. But 1, 2, 3, 4 as the goal song, I mean, that was perfecto. Whoever chose that goal song, like, hats off to them. If you want to know what that goal song is, I'll probably put it in the description down below. But you guys can go search up 1, 2, 3, 4 by Alan Doyle, because that is a banger of a goal song. I've got to say that much. But the Growlers' awesome choice was that. And then their all-star this year was none other than, I talked about him a little earlier, Johnny Tyconic. His nickname was Johnny Iconic. That's what I called him, at least. But he was unbelievable for the Growlers this season. But in the playoffs last year, I talked about in the last episode, he scored the overtime winner. Big overtime winner for the Growlers. But yeah, Tyconic was iconic in his times with the Growlers. But yeah, that's all the stats I had to list off. But I still got more to talk about. Matt Cook was named head coach. And you could say good things about him, but then you could say bad things about him. I got to meet him once when he was head coach with the Growlers, and he was a nice guy. He seemed like a type of guy that you could just talk hockey with all day long. Like, he was just such a nice guy, and you would really never know how he was as an NHL player. Like, he was a dirty guy, dirty NHL player, but he was such a nice guy in person, honestly. So hats off to him. But there were some decisions that he made that may have been a little confusing. For example, putting Jordan Escott on the first line. I mean, Escott was a senior league player, and he played with the Growlers most of the year. And there was just something about Jordy that I just didn't be a fan of. But he was putting him on the first line. That is just way too much for him. And I mean, he was basically getting like extra pairing minutes down in the forward, like a depth chart type of guy. But Josh Victor won the games, I remember. And you remember Josh Victor as a defenseman, right? He was playing top line minutes as a forward. I don't know. I mean, you could look up on Elite Prospects, and it says he's a forward/defenseman, but he played the whole year as a defenseman. I remember this one game, he just had him playing top line minutes as a forward, and I was just there, and I was like, what is going on? And as you can tell from the record, the Growlers were 28, 28, and 10, and that's the worst amount of losses the Growlers have got in a season. Jeez. I mean, wherever Matt Cook goes, I mean, I wish him the best of luck. But I mean, the whole year, I just really wish they could have named Gene Riley head coach. He was the associate coach for the Growlers, and I mean, he had more talent than Matt Cook. Even though Matt Cook was a head coach for high school hockey in Minnesota, Gene Riley was actually being NHL scouts and coaching in college and all this kind of stuff. So Gene Riley was a really good associate coach as well. He kind of looks like Jerry D, the guy from Family Feud, kind of looks like him. But they also had Adam Party as a development coach, and he was actually a former Growler that won the Kelly Cup back in the 2018-19 season. We talked about him in the first episode. But some iconic games that I'd really like to talk about is opening night is the first one. I mean, I talked about a little earlier the brawl between Devin Poliani and Tate Singleton. I mean, Devin Poliani definitely got his food fed by Tate Singleton. He took a little nap for the rest of the game. But yeah, I mean, that fight was great in the brawl as well. The Growlers ended up winning that game, so it was a pretty iconic game as well. And then the Nathan Noel game, I had to mention it. I'm sorry, I just had to. There's some people I know that are watching this video and they're just like, oh, I'm talking about this again. But Nathan Noel game, maybe the best game this season, honestly. I was looking at clips actually before I started this video, and in case you're just like, what is this guy talking about? Back last season, prior to this season, Nathan Noel and Josh Victor had a bit of an awkward connection with each other. Josh Victor was playing for the Worcester Railers at the time, and Nathan Noel was on the travel team with the Growlers on the way to Worcester. And they're playing mid-game, and Nathan Noel was just wanting to fight him, like, hardly. Nathan Noel is known for a fighter, even though this year, we'll get to that later. But Josh Victor was also a fighter, but he didn't want to fight Nathan Noel for some reason. And Nathan Noel was just calling him racial slurs and all this kind of stuff. And that actually got him kicked off the Newfoundland Growlers team. He got put on waivers, got released from the squad, didn't get claimed, so he became a free agent. And anyways, they started this year, and all Growlers fans were just expecting him to join the St. John's Caps. In case you don't know what that is, that's the senior team here in St. John's. But Nathan Noel actually ended up signing with the Maine Mariners halfway through the year, I believe in December. And believe it or not, it was on a Thursday night, and Maine was playing against the Growlers at home at NBC on Friday night. Yeah, I know. In case, just to make things worse, Josh Victor signed with the Newfoundland Growlers this next season. So he was on the team when Nathan Noel was going to play against them Friday night. And you know something was going to come. And anyways, Friday night, Nathan Noel didn't crack the lineup. He actually only played warm-ups. And when he skated on the ice for warm-ups, we all gave him a big boo because, I mean, what he did wasn't right. And anyways, then it comes Saturday night. He's on the ice and playing in the starting lineup for the game. And before the game even started, I mean, there was stuff going on. He slapped Josh Victor on the pads, just saying sorry for what he did. Actually, on the knees. I don't know why players would wear pads. But anyways, it didn't even start with what happened. You know what I'm talking about. But after Maine scored their first goal, it was Tyler Drevich with the goal. And they just went to go celebrate. Nathan Noel was on the ice for that, so he was a +1. So probably one of the better stats he'll ever get in his career. But James Willie went right after him, just tackled him down to the ice, and then the rest split it up eventually. But Nathan Noel and James Willie were just split apart, and they were going to the penalty box, and Nathan Noel was going like this, calling James Willie a chicken. But anyways, he got back on the ice after his 2 minutes for roughing. It didn't even go against the clock, I don't think. But anyways, he comes right back out of the box. And the battle down behind the goaltender, forget who was in net for that game. It was probably like Shane Starrett or someone like that for Maine. But they were behind him, and they were just battling. And Nathan Noel cross-checked Zach O'Brien. You know Zach O'Brien isn't that much of a fighter. He had like 2 penalty minutes his whole QMJHL career. But Nathan Noel, anyways, he's just like cross-checking him. And then it comes to a point where it gets a little too far, and he high sticks Zach O'Brien, and Zach O'Brien goes down to the ice, and he's bleeding. And Nathan Noel goes, and he gets a 4 in the box, and you're just there, and you're like, oh, Nathan, you're just embarrassing yourself with Maine right now. And it looked like he was just trying to like mess things up with his Maine career. But anyways, after the 4-minute penalty was over, that when the best moment in Growlers history, not Growlers history, the best moment of the season. Nathan Noel skates out of the box, and believe it or not, the Growlers still on the power play, but Josh Victor is on the ice for that power play. Nathan Noel skates behind the net, skates down low, and Josh Victor chases him, drops his gloves, and just tackles him down to the ice, and he's just firing bombs on Nathan Noel. That was such a good moment. That was such a good moment. I was right in front of it when it happened as well, and it was so memorizing. Like, I'm gonna remember that for the rest of my life, really. And the crowd is jumping up and down, and the barn's going crazy. Josh Victor gets released from the refs, and he's just pumping up the crowd. And he leaves, and he gets a 1-game suspension. But that we all thought that's just it for Nathan Noel in pro hockey. That's just it. But no, he actually ended up going back to Maine and playing more for the Maine Mariners. And he had a bunch of controversial games with the Growlers. I mean, that one game was against Joe Gattenby. Gattenby went to go drop his gloves, and Nathan Noel went for his legs and picked him up. And that's just not how you fight. Does Nate really know how to fight? Like, that's just the question. You don't really know if he knows how to fight or not. And then there was a Nolan Dillingham game. Nolan Dillingham was injured down on the ice, and Nathan Noel just drops his glove and just pounds on him. I have many videos on this channel. I think it's like 3 or 4, and me just mocking him like crazy. Like, definitely like aggravating. One of the most aggravating players against the Growlers, biggest rat in the ECHL by far. But yeah, that was the iconic Nathan Noel game. Felt like I was talking about that for like 10 minutes, but yeah. And then another iconic game was the Terry Ryan game, and that was actually the one forward that played in the NHL. But I was gonna mention it now in case you don't know who Terry Ryan is, he played in the NHL for the Montreal Canadiens back in like 1996. Then he joined the ECHL, played his last season in 2003 with the Cincinnati Cyclones, and then he retired from pro hockey and he joined Senior League. And he played Senior League till about 2021. Then he ended his pro career and joined the TV show Shoresy, which you can go watch on Crave. But it's basically a hockey show of a bunch of guys, almost like the movie Goon with like Doug Glatt and that type of stuff. It's kind of similar to that. But the show's called Shoresy, and Terry Ryan plays a guy named Ken Hitchcock on the show. And he just put his talents to TV shows. But one night, the Growlers were short on forwards, and they signed him. They signed him to like a 1 day deal, and he ended up playing in that game and against the Adirondacks Thunder. And that may be one of the most iconic games also in Growlers history. I mean, he fought Zach Walker, who's another player that I just absolutely do not like. But that fight just was all over social media. I believe he made TSN and all that kind of stuff bar down as well. Like it was absolutely wild. And Sportsnet was broadcasting this and all this kind of stuff. Like this was wild. Like Flow Hockey put their game live on YouTube. Usually you have to pay to watch the game. But they put this one on YouTube because they knew that people were going to want to watch this. Paul Bissonnette was on Sportsnet just talking about it. You got to go watch this game. It's going to be live on YouTube. Terry Ryan's in the game. It's going to be interesting. A 47-year-old skate. And Matt Cook wasn't putting him out on the ice. And I mean, the fan got pissed a little bit. And we were chanting, "We want Terry," and all this kind of stuff. And then he finally got on some ice time in the third period. And we're all just chanting, "Terry Ryan." But I actually missed the fight. In the second intermission, it was like 5-1 Adirondack. And I left early because I was having enough. That's that one game where I'm just like in the GFR just going like this. But I was absolutely done. It felt like, and I mean after that it just felt like it was a joke. With the players that the crowd was signing. I mean next player could be Buddy Jr. I don't know, but yeah, that Terry Ryan game was iconic as well. But then the final game that I have to talk about is actually another final game in Growlers history, and I mean. That game was actually they finished the last time they ever skated on the ice. There was an e-bug in net for war, so they finished that game with a 9-3 win. They knew it was probably going to be the last game, so they all wanted to have fun as the band was back together for one last time. And yeah, so the last game at home was against the Idaho Steelheads, and they lost that game in overtime. Pretty unfortunate, but you can only ask for so much. The last game in Worcester was a banger, and I mean, the Growlers definitely one of the better known teams to ever play hockey in St. John's. And just talking about this, man, and it's getting a little emotional. But I'm gonna miss this team, man. I really am, and yeah. So R.I.P. to the Growlers, but there's still stuff left. I mean, we're not done with pro hockey or even junior hockey here in Newfoundland. There's a not a senior team, a junior team going back to the Mary Brown Center. The played again, St. John's Junior Caps. They're going to the Mary Brown Center. I'm possibly going to be doing some content for them next season. So we'll see how it goes with next year with hockey back at NBC. But it's just going to feel weird that's not the Growlers that are going to be there, seeing their logo at center ice. And I mean, man, it's been a dream to do recaps for the Growlers for all of this times. And I mean, I got to be interviewed by Brian Rogers because I did these things and opened up a game as well. But yeah, it was a dream. And I mean, I got to broadcast a hockey tournament, big high school hockey tournament because of this. And I mean, I love journalism. I love sports broadcasting. This is what I want to do when I'm older. And I mean, hopefully Hopefully the dream is able to. I want to thank a bunch of people as well. Chris Ballard, Ben Murphy. I mean, Bill Hart as well. He was such a nice guy as well. Brian Rogers as well. I'd like to thank him. And then all my friends that I had with the Growlers community in Growlers Nation. There's too many to mention, so I won't mention, but there's a lot of people that I'd like to mention. Big shout out to Paul Loader. He created Growlers Nation. Got to chat with a lot of new people, made a lot of new friends with the Growlers community. And yeah, so I appreciate it, you all, for watching GFR. I'm gonna pick my phone up. I'm a little sorry that this is gonna be weird, but all of this right here is all because of you guys. And I mean, I just want to thank you all for all of this. It's gonna feel weird not making any GFRs anymore, but hey, this isn't the end for Newfoundland Pro Hockey, and hopefully we'll get it. Maybe an NHL teams here soon. We'll see. We'll see. Just thanks guys. I really appreciate it. Honestly, I really appreciate it. And yeah, that's gonna be it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you can like this video. If you do, you can like this video. You can subscribe if you really liked it. We're on the road to 300 subscribers, so you can hit that subscribe button down below. I really appreciate it. Any content videos, with GFR gone, there's a lot of open spaces available for content. And yeah, thanks for all the love, and thanks for GFR. I'm Drew, not a hockey guy, and that's it for today's video, guys. See you again soon.